Zoe Bookbinder, welcome. Hello, welcome to eTown.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Where are you now? Where are
New
you
Orleans.
now? You're in New Orleans. Safe and sound, healthy, doing okay.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what led you to go into New Folsom Prison for the first time.
I was playing a concert in my hometown, Nevada City, which is very close to Sacramento. And a woman approached me after the show and told me about this program. She just said, "Would you like to play inside New Folsom Prison?" And I immediately said yes for some reason. I think at the time I was just thinking, that'll be interesting. There's no experience like that I've ever had. Sure.
Right. You got your guitar and you just went into the prison and
I was a little more involved than that.
Yeah.
It took some months of planning and getting a security clearance and being in touch with this man who ran the program, this arts program at New Folsom. And he talked to me for a few months about what the day would look like and where the concerts would be. I was going to play 3 concerts. And there was one in particular he wanted me to emotionally prepare for, which was a concert for people in solitary confinement. And he described the setting and just wanted to make sure that I was emotionally prepared and able to play that show. And he asked me several times over the few months that we were in contact.
Yeah. So I know that every time any of us plays a set, we think about our song choice, think about our set list. How do you create a set list for a scenario like that?
I don't know if I really thought about it differently the first time. I think I just played my normal set list. What did happen when I was playing for these incarcerated folks in prison is different lyrics stood out to me, but specifically because of the reaction they got. Something that I've noticed playing at New Folsom is the audiences are generally listening very, very carefully, unlike audiences. It's sort of like playing for audiences in Germany, actually, weirdly. German people just listen super well
super intently
to a concert.
Yeah.
Anyway, folks were listening super, super intently and reacting to the lyrics in an audible way. And there was one lyric in this song, Gravity, "I don't want to be remembered for the worst thing I've ever done." And that lyric, I didn't even think about it. I just played that song like I always did. And that one got quite a reaction.
Wow. And tell me a little bit about just the experience of walking in for the first time. So this is a new experience for you. This was probably obviously an audience you're not used to seeing, but it's also a scene that there's going to be some familiar things like institutional lighting and polished waxed floors or whatever you were looking at. But there's a scene that's different in there, and maybe you can just describe it or tell us about what your reaction to it was.
Yeah, it's really different to see people in cages in real life versus to see that in a movie or on TV, even if it's the news or a documentary. It's really, really different to viscerally experience and witness that, which is really like it takes an emotional toll to witness that. I mean, obviously not the emotional toll it takes to be the person who is caged, but to see it and to be in that environment, to see that kind of dehumanization. I think everyone in the situation ends up being a little bit dehumanized, not as much as the people who are caged, obviously, but to be able to accept, or at least accept enough in order to not completely have a nervous breakdown. There's just this emotional wall of protection one has to put up in order to keep up appearances or
Right.
just, yeah.
Just to keep it together. When did you know you were going to keep coming back? When did you know that this is something that you're going to keep doing? Because as you're describing it, it seems like, this is a process for you to go through just to be in there. When
Yeah.
did you know that you were going to keep coming back? I mean, this began 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So how long did it take for you to just decide, okay, I'm going to keep doing this?
I mean, so while I was inside, there was so much information that my brain was taking in. It was, just trying to engage with every person that wanted to engage with me, playing these concerts. It felt like a lot of pressure to be. I just wanted to give as much as I could in a way to these folks that were deprived of so much. And so that was where my mind was occupied in either my performance or just, the conversations that followed the performances with the incarcerated folks. So it wasn't until I left the prison, which was maybe 3 p.m. that day, and I knew immediately I was going to go back as much as I possibly could. What started that morning as this will be an interesting one-off experience turned into, oh, I think this is my life now.
Yeah. And right after your performance, obviously you had some interaction. Did you start hearing stories right away, or was that later on where you came back in and you started actually getting to connect with inmates and hear their stories?
I heard a little bit on that first day. We were really focused on the man running that program. He didn't know that if I was ever going to come back. So he just wanted to get me in front of as many people as possible that day. So I didn't have that much time to interact. There was a little bit of incarcerated artists performing also, like at the end of my set, I'd get to see some performances, but it was pretty limited that day. But I did hear a little bit. Mostly there were, in the conversations following, it was mostly questions for me and questions about my life on the outside. So I didn't hear too much that first day.
And so when did you decide to figure out a way to both capture stories and then turn the stories into songs?
It started, I was doing this collaboration with a dance company, and the work that they do is very mission-based, and they wanted me to pick an issue that mattered to me and write a song or two, or a few songs that they could choreograph to. And the thing I'd been thinking about so much at that point, I think I'd been going in about a year at that point. And I'd been thinking about prison every day since that first visit. And so I thought, okay, I guess I'll write songs about prison. And I sat down to try to write songs about prison, which turned out to be pretty impossible for me. And then I realized, oh, I don't have to write these songs. I can ask, there's already all this material that I've been hearing. I can just ask permission to use it. And so I approached a few of the writers that I'd met inside, and the first one was Alex Batriz, and he had this rap called Survivalist, which is on the album. And that was the first collaboration. And then seeing the impact of that, of his words on the audience at this dance show, really was the first inspiration. People were really moved. Hearing about how, his early life and how he ended up in prison. And I could tell that hearing someone's story had a humanizing impact. And it gave people this perspective that they didn't have before. I think a lot of these people had never thought about prison or incarcerated people. And upon hearing his story, were awakened a bit.
All right, well, we're going to listen to Survivalist right now. This is from the Prison Music Project. Zoe, thanks for getting us started. Here we go.